It's uh, it's a pity that I couldn't make it to be there physically. Sorry for that. I apologize for that. However, it's an honor to be here in such important event at COP26 on behalf of the Chilean Ministry of Energy. During this presentation, that will be a little bit more general than the other presentations. I will be talking about our green hydrogen national strategy that we released in November of the last year. And I will be talking how our goals and ambitions are aiming the decarbonization of maritime transport. So we are rushing to activate the solutions for clean maritime transport. And in spite of IMO's ambitions to achieve 50% of reduction of greenhouse gases emissions by 2050, we think from Chile that will not be enough to tackle climate change at time. So we are heading for an increase in maritime greenhouse gases emissions despite current industry-wide efforts. So that's a big, huge problem that we have to face off. So our time is now. The time for decarbonizing shipping is now. Current emissions per year are estimated around 1.1 gigatons of CO2 equivalent per year. That almost represent obviously 3.3% of the worldwide emissions. However, one could think that 3% is not that much, but maritime shipping fuels facilitates as much as 80–90% of global trade. And also, if you see, and if you take into account that a ship's technical lifetime usually ranges from 25 to 30 years, we cannot wait by the year 2050 to the industry that is going to start decarbonizing the shipping vessels. So we have to act now. We have to prepare infrastructure. Of course, nowadays we are facing a daunting challenge. Main cheap energy supplier, heavy fuel oils and marine diesel represent more than 95% of the uses. So as Faustin de la Salle from the Energy Transitions Commission Director, he says, the first wave of commercial zero emission shipping projects must occur within the next 5 to 10 years to put the industry on track to achieving the sector's 2050 goal of reducing its emission by half compared to 2008 levels. So with the time is now, and from Chile, we are ready to do it. And also in an international level, we know that the IMO has been creating the way to decarbonize maritime transport since 2011. An important milestone that we appreciated was declared in 2020, where IMO decided to rule the sulfur oxides limitations for fuel oil. And also other international organizations such as the Global Maritime Forum by Getting to Zero Collision is aiming carbon neutrality by 2050. And also it has some other achievements and goals like support industrial scale zero emission shipping projects and others. But the thing is that if we follow IMO's targets, by 2050, we will have reduced 70% of carbon intensity, but the remaining of 30% will be still there. So we need to go beyond that ambition and start increasing long-term ambition calls for a strong and at scale development of alternatives for zero emission shipping fuels. So that's like the goal now, and we're looking forward to going there from an exporting view like which Chile is having now. So several private actors are already on board. demand for zero emissions maritime transport is on the rise. The ecosystem is being created and ready to find more synergies between stakeholders. Also, cargo owners. This is an independent coalition. Cargo owners for zero emission vessels has the aim to lead this transition by decarbonizing their own maritime freight by 2040, and of course a target well aligned with the Paris Agreement of 1.5 degrees Celsius trajectory. So obviously there are several technological challenges that we see that are being tackled. You know, there's no a maturity obviously in technology nowadays, but we are doing and we are going to that. Several pilots and designs are under development, including Lawson's and Sinus superjets that are going to use green hydrogen as maritime fuel. So a zero emissions fleet is only viable with green hydrogen. Energy efficiency is not enough. The main driver for a zero emissions fleet will be the indirect use of clean electricity, such as wind and solar as shipping fuel. And also a growing number of proponents of hydrogen suggest it may enable zero greenhouse gases energy pathway as a marine fuel and commodity or even cargo. So as our in the previous presentations we heard obviously that hydrogen is non-toxic, colorless, and odorless. However, it is facing a lot of challenges in terms of security aspects, and of course there are challenges that we have to tackle, that have to face. But bridging the cost gap is one of the main keys, and of course from a perspective from Chile, we will producing 160 megatons of green hydrogen, and according to IRENA, there are around 50 megatons of green hydrogen that's going to be demanded by shipping. So at least Chile it's committed to the green hydrogen production, but obviously we have to face the cost gap. We're breaching the cost gap, but nowadays obviously it's 2 to 8 false times the cost of alternative fuels compared to fossil shipping fuels. So we have to give more incentives. We have to create demand. We have to create the offer, of course, the supply. But we know that the time for hydrogen has arrived. After several decades of waiting for the potential of hydrogen as an energy carrier, we see that it's now ready to assume a leading role in the global energy and economic transition. And by 2050, we know that the world's economies and energy system will look greener. I mean, almost 90% of global GDP has put forward hydrogen support policies or initiatives. And obviously, global energy demand supplied by hydrogen will be at least 80% of final energy demand. So we know that hydrogen will be huge. Obviously, there are some reasons of this bubble ecosystem that has been created with the hydrogen. First, the huge decline in the cost of wind and solar. Second, there is a fast-growing acknowledgement that we can decarbonize our energy system just by greening electrons. Maybe the third reason would be that for the growing momentum behind hydrogen is the insight that gas infrastructure can be used to transport hydrogen. Of course, that's going to be limited. There are going to be limited adjustments and some costs related to new infrastructure, but it is being proven that we can achieve that. So we now see that green hydrogen economy is building momentum. There are around more than 376 projects announced worldwide. And the chart on the right is interesting. It's from McKinsey, the consultant company McKinsey. It shows that the electricity projection capacity by 2030, changing the date of calculation. So in June 2019, we were expecting that by 2030, we would have 8 gigawatts of capacity. 1 year later, that figure was fourfold. And in April of this year, 10 months later, that figure reached 66 gigawatts of capacity. So the ratio, the increased ratio is moving very fast, and obviously it is changing every day. So we released our green hydrogen strategy in November of the last year. In almost 1 year, we have created the pathway to achieve our milestones. In the picture, you can see our minister, Juan Carlos Llobet, alongside with President Piñera in the inauguration of the first scale-up power plant in Punta Arenas. It's a medium system in which the maximum demand is 45 megawatts. It's a small medium system, so that was a huge event for Chile, obviously, and for the people in that site location. Obviously, countries all over the world are increasing their ambitions against climate change. We, alongside the world, are committed to reach carbon neutrality by 2050, and also we aim 70% of renewables by 2030. Also, in order to accelerate the decarbonization of our electricity market, we are retiring all our coal-based power plants by 2040. We hope that by 2025 we will be retired 50% of our total capacity of coal. However, we think that we might be doing it faster than we think. So almost between 2030 and 2035, we will be retiring the remaining capacity. So just some figures related to our renewable capacity. In 2021, we are doubling our solar and wind capacity, adding 6 gigawatts to existing figures and reaching almost 11 gigawatts of non-conventional renewable energy capacity, or variable variable energy. So the IEA has to point out that green hydrogen is the missing link because it comes to decarbonize hard-to-abate industries. Missing link since it allows to clean industrial processes that are difficult to electrify, such as cement, steel, mining trucks, aviation, maritime transport, among others. So I think that from behalf of the Ministry of Energy, green hydrogen has taken place as one of the most important energy carriers of the future. Chile is worldwide known due to its territory narrowness and its length. Due to the former, Chile is favored by its closeness to port infrastructure and access to sea. Also because of its length, right? We have abundant natural resources and ecosystems from fjords to deserts, which make some locations suitable for green energy projects. We have some figures here in the slides. 6,000 kilometers of coastline, around 20,000 ship landings in Chilean ports each year. And about ports, we have around 40 ports ranging from Arica in the north to Puerto Williams in the south. So it's a country with abundant renewable resources. We have, the solar and wind power sectors are quickly maturing. In the past 6 years, Chile has increased the generation capacity from these sources fivefold. And as I said before, by 2030, 70% of the power grid is expected to be renewable. The increasing investment in these energies, of course, as well as in energy storage and transmission infrastructure, it will be and is a clear indicator that of a decisive transition to a more sustainable power system. It's not a story, it's just a fact. A few weeks ago, we cleared a bidding process for regulated client supply, in which the lowest offer and accepted was $13 per megawatt hour. So while the weighted average price for all the energy volume was $26 per megawatt hour. So those figures, I mean, achieving $13 per megawatt hour shows us that the prices in Chile are becoming lower and lower. So obviously we know that one of the most important feedstocks or resources for the production of green hydrogen is the energy from renewables. So as Chile has like one of the lowest, is expecting to have one of the lowest cost of energy, we might have one of the lowest levelized cost of production of hydrogen by 2030 and by the next decades. We are competing in the race for putting green hydrogen overall, just green hydrogen. We have to harness that we have these conditions here, and we have to put it in the center of the solutions to tackle obviously climate change. And Chile would have access to one of the lowest LCOH, around 0.95 and $1.05 per kilogram. Chile, as I said, I have talked a lot about Chile, but Chile is in the southern corner of the world. It's in the extreme south of the world, far away from the competitive markets and despite, I mean, worldwide clusters and hubs. However, despite all of that, we remain competitive. Also, last week or 2 weeks ago, there was a report that the IEE from Japan released a report which was conducted by Tara, a consultant, highlights that CIF values of green hydrogen produced in Chile were the most competitive between competitors. So we have started to be at the same position that those countries that are obviously closer to these clusters and hubs. So as we have one of the lowest levelized costs of energy, we remain competitive in spite of the distance. So this is a unique opportunity, of course. This is like something that we have to harness from Chile. Green hydrogen could be a clean industry as big as our mining sector. In the beginning, we are aiming to achieve maturity in a locally way, of course. We have to generate the demand, and we will produce our hydrogen to supply, obviously, those applications. But we will also be encouraging the export of green hydrogen to other destinations. By 2030, exports will be already bigger than domestic uses. And for us, this is something very important because our mining sector is huge. Green copper is an implicit way of exporting renewable resources like green hydrogen in the form of metals. So that is something like, it's a highlight of our green hydrogen national strategy. And we think that we will be able to do it. So we have set clear goals to lead the way. By 2025, we expect to have at least 5 gigawatts of electrolysis capacity operating and under development. And of course, as I said before, by 2030, we want to be one of the cheapest green hydrogen producers on the planet, reaching a price below $1.0 per kilogram. and obviously leading in the production of green hydrogen via electrolysis, having 25 gigawatts of capacity. So Chile will be able to produce green hydrogen, and as I said before, near its main ports in the solar region. I mean, in the north region, we have almost 37% of capacity factors, and in the south, with our strong winds, we almost achieve 70 to 75 capacity factors. And also, we are competing with those capacity factors that are off land, offshore, right? So I think that we have a lot of advantages. We have already more than 60 projects that have already sprung. They're expecting, some of them, they are already thinking about the possibility to scale up. Obviously, in this decade, we have projects throughout all of the country, but obviously they are more focused on the north region in the Atacama Desert and in the south of Chile in Magallanes region. So this is my last slide. Just would like to add that we are conducting a study financed by the IDB, in which we are examining the readiness of our port infrastructure in order to prepare it for the export volumes we are aiming. The current findings so far show that we have 4 excellent bay options to also build new infrastructure, or sizing them, and also expand the existing capacity. And Tocopilla Port, Mejillones Port, Taltal Port, those are located in the north, from the Antofagasta region to the north, and in the south, in Magallanes, Cabo Negro Port. So we are heading to create and facilitate the suitable conditions for investors to come to Chile and explore green hydrogen alternatives. So to be accomplished to this commitment that we have deal, I mean, with all over the world. Also, and this is just the end, we have some MOUs with Singapore. It's one of the top global bunkering port, and also we have an MOU with Port of Rotterdam, that is one of the largest port in the world. So I think that we are enabling the conditions to achieve all the things, all the goals and the milestones that we have in our green hydrogen national strategy. So yeah, thank you all, and just waiting for some comments and questions later.